Hey to you, Willard Shepard, Willard Shepard Law and Media, and here with the Miami Community News for In the Know. And we're really honored today to have one of our longtime public servants and a man I'm proud to say is my friend as well, Carlos Martinez, the public defender here in Miami-Dade County. And it's just fantastic that you and Ms. Guerra have been able to come and spend time with us today and really let the public know about what you do, because everybody knows about our mayor, Ms. Cava, and the police officials that run our county. But you and your team sometimes work so hard behind the scenes for so many things. And I really want the public to know about your service to our community, first of all, and also what you do and how you can help them if they ever need it. So Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay. First of all, big picture, tell me how a young man that came here at a young age who apparently loved gas stations ended up being the public defender.
Well, I actually loved making money. Mm-hmm. That's why I worked at gas stations, because the pay was good. So I ended up in the public defender's office. I went to law school. And when I was working for Exxon Company USA, I worked for them for 11 years. And in order for me to get a promotion, they kept telling me, you need to get another degree. You need to get another degree. So I got my bachelor's. And then they said, well, now you need to get a PhD or a law degree. Mm-hmm. So, of course, what did I do? I applied to University of Miami. And when I applied, I got into University of Miami, and I left Exxon Company USA, all along thinking that I was going to work in corporate America after I was done. But I had the opportunity to work in the public defender's office, and my life just changed trajectory. And it was a blessing because when I started interning in the public defender's office, I saw what I could do for others. Mm-hmm. Which was very different when you're making money, selling gas, selling tires, selling service is very different than all of a sudden you're actually helping people, and without charging them, and that was it.
Let me ask you how you ended up in Texas, though, and in West Texas per se, and out there in what it now is an extremely thriving city when it comes to technology, and it's technology, Austin, something you're not going to talk about.
So what was going on is I was working for Exxon Company USA, and I wanted to get away from Miami, because in Miami, it was taking me a long time to finish college. And that was mainly because I kept working for Exxon, and they kept giving me promotion after promotion after promotion, but that meant working 60 hours a week trying to carry 12 credit load in college at Miami-Dade. And at one point, I'm like, you know what? I just need to move, and I need to realize that money isn't everything. Just finish the degree. So I applied. I did not apply until I got there. That was a big lesson. But I chose Austin, Texas, because they had company stations there. Mm-hmm. And I was able to transfer. I didn't have to look for a job. So I was able to leave here, drive over there, and start a week later at an Exxon gas station. Didn't have to look for a job. And Austin, Texas was one of the places where Exxon had a lot of company stations. And the second thing that I had asked them to do was that I wanted to get a demotion, because I was a manager here. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I cannot be a manager while I'm going to school there at UT Austin. And they agreed to do that, which of course was a big cut in pay, but I still made it. But that's how I ended up in Austin, Texas. Now I came back to Miami because my dad got very ill, terminally ill. So I came back to Miami before I graduated from UT Austin, and I ended up finishing here at FIU.
And we're fortunate that you came back, and that we always love hearing about FIU, because I always say, as I said yesterday over on the campus, that, my law school has the highest bar passage rate in the state of Florida.
Absolutely.
And it's been that way a decade, and we send a lot of our young lawyers over to work for you.
Absolutely. And it's been a blessing to have FIU Law, and I think I have mentioned it to you previously. FIU Law has the distinction not only to have a high bar pass rate, but in my office, every single person that I've hired that has graduated from FIU has passed the bar except for one.
Mm-hmm.
No other law school has that kind of record. So for the first time, they passed the bar. So I love hiring.
I know I know
graduates.
you and Ms. Guerra always need staffing. So we mentioned on this point, just tell individuals out there who are studying for the bar, the February bar, and who are coming forward, how would they come forward to be a assistant public defender, and what's the salary like, and what do you look for?
So the starting salary right now is $68,000. And if one of the graduates wants to get hired by us, what they need to do is they need to go to our website, pdmiami.com, and the application is there and the process is listed there. And there are links in there to fill out an application, and that also triggers review by us, and we do screening, and then we do a hiring panel, and then ultimately I'll interview the person if they get past the hiring panel. We're looking for people who are eager to learn, people who are trainable. Sometimes from time to time, we will get a law student who thinks they know more than a 10-year lawyer. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not somebody who's quite trainable. Mm-hmm. And we like to train, and we provide extensive training in the office. So as they're going through law school, I've been to every single law school this year, local law school, to explain to the students, and we've had very good turnout, explain to a student the importance of becoming a certified legal intern, which is a practice rule that the Florida bar has, by which somebody who is in law school can actually start working in our office, having clients, being supervised, directly supervised by an attorney, and actually represent people before you graduate from law school.
This is a gigantic responsibility. Most people think that they are never going to be, in lay terms, on the other side of the law. Yeah. I was always flabbergasted to tell people that, in the Miami-Dade County Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, there's almost 100,000 people that come through the system during an entire year. Most people are only there for a very short time period, right, and mostly, thankfully, lots of misdemeanors. But still, a person's liberty is at stake, and they deserve due process. So tell me about the mission of your office to provide this, especially when a person doesn't have the financial resources to actually be able to hire an attorney.
Yeah, so the challenge that folks have is if somebody is making up to 200% of the poverty level, which right now it's about $28,000 a year. If a single individual is making less than $28,000 a year, they're going to qualify for the public defender. If they're making more than $28,000, they may qualify for the public defender, but the judge would have to look at it to see if it's going to be a undue financial hardship on that individual to hire a private attorney. Mm-hmm. So someone who is charged with a misdemeanor, which is a charge for which the maximum can only be 1 year in jail, in the local jail, or somebody who's charged with a felony, which is somebody who can actually be facing the death penalty or life in prison or a prison term. Those individuals, if they qualify for the public defender, the judge appoints them and we get to represent. We also represent children. Children charged with delinquent acts, we represent them. And we also represent children and adults who may be a danger to themselves or to others. So under the Baker Act, if the state seeks to hold them hospitalized, they're entitled to an attorney. We represent about 4,000 people a year in that category.
You have almost 70,000 cases in an entire year, which is a massive amount of people that need this type of representation, and a chunk of that being people who are minors. I know it's extremely important to you addressing minors coming through this system so we don't see them ever again.
100%.
Don't take that the wrong way, but we don't want to see you again in this system.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct. And the challenge there is working with the children, but also working with a family unit, because you can try to fix some of the things that's going on with the kid, but if that kid is in the same environment and the parents don't have the tools that are necessary to make sure the kid stays on the right path, we're wasting our time. So the way we look at it is the kids that are charged with delinquency, it's really an excellent opportunity for us to be able not only to defend them on their case, but try to work with them and their family to try to figure out what are some of the things that we need to put in their path so that their path is an easier path to success, not to get involved with the wrong crowd and then all of a sudden end up in adult court or even worse in state prison.
Talk about some of the special initiatives that you have come forward with, especially in this juvenile area, because it's not just doing what you and I would say would be the specific representational work. Right. It's a lot of community work. Yeah,
it's a lot of community work. Some of it is educational. So there are a couple of programs that we do out in the community with the schools, also with the 5,000 role models of excellence.
Congresswoman Wilson,
yeah, exactly.
My Congresswoman.
Yeah. We work directly with her and with them to provide educational opportunities so that they learn what the consequences are of getting arrested and the long-term consequences. So it's not just jail time. It's the ability to get a job. It's the ability of where you can live. It's the ability to get student loans. There are a lot of issues that are impacted and we work with them. So with the young people, one of the benefits of COVID, and that sounds really weird, but there was a benefit to COVID, which was because everything got shut down, the political aspect of my job and the community aspect of my job, I was essentially at home. So I had lots of time to be able to look at what is our system like, what's working, what's not working so well. What are some things we can do better? And one of those areas that I started tinkering with that is going very well is looking at when we get these children that are arrested and they come into the system. The way we used to do things is we used to handle it like any criminal defense lawyer handles it. You have a new client, you look at the client, you look at the charges, you look at the case, you look at the defense, you do that. What we started doing differently is looking at it from the reality that this is a child, and this child does not live in a vacuum. This child lives within a family unit, no matter what the family unit looks like. So what we started doing is actually looking at the educational piece. How's this kid doing in school? What are the challenges that the kid's having in school? Are some of those issues the ones that are showing up in the delinquent act? So now we're looking and we're intervening and working with the schools when we find out. Because a lot of our kids, they have educational issues. They have educational special needs. And when we identify those, we try to work with the schools to make sure they're providing them the tools and the services that they're entitled to by federal law. And working in that, the educational piece, a lot of times if you fix the educational piece, you fix the trajectory and a good trajectory for that kid. So we've been doing that differently, and we call our model the one child, one attorney. And the reason we call that is the way that law has been practiced throughout this whole country is that a lot of times when we hire young lawyers, we used to put them in juvenile court as its baby adult court, which is as a training tool. We stopped doing that 2 years ago. I decided I am not going to put these young lawyers to practice law on these kids and not get to know the kids. So now I have experienced lawyers in there that get to know that child, get to know the family, get to know what's going on with the schools, what's going on with substance use and any other issue. And once that kid finishes with us, which means their case is disposed either by dismissal, by some program or something, if that kid, God forbid, but if that kid comes back to us, when that kid comes back, they get the same lawyer. They don't get another lawyer in another quorum. It doesn't matter what judge they were assigned to, they get the same lawyer and they keep the same lawyer. So that's not only smart in terms of the relationship with that child, but that's also smart because we don't have to do things over and over again. You don't have to have a different lawyer look at the same records and all that. You actually have a lawyer who knows this kid. So we did that change about 2 years ago.
Tell me about the mental health component of this and emotional health of our young people, since we're still addressing with juveniles. You know, unfortunately, we had the ultimate tragedy in the jurisdiction just to the north of us.
Yeah.
And how your office is addressing those matters to identify a mental health component and to make sure that a person is able to receive the type of help that they need, not only that benefits them, but protects us as a community.
Yeah, so in the mental health arena, that's the other area, the behavioral health. So I created a behavioral health unit so that we can address those issues early on. The way things used to work before I started the behavioral health division is we had silos. We had court silos. So the courts, they have a court process for Baker Act cases. They have a court process for misdemeanor cases. They have a court process for felony cases. They have a court process for delinquency cases. What I ended up doing was the following. I said, okay, we have those processes and we are going to continue to operate and defend the clients in those processes. However, the attorneys who are part of the behavioral health division, they are cross-trained across disciplines, whether it's a misdemeanor, felony, juvenile delinquency, or Baker Act. And what we have done is they are now cross-trained. They don't work just in their silo. They work in different areas. And the other thing that we changed is we changed the intake process. What the intake process is about is when somebody gets arrested on a misdemeanor or a felony case, they get booked into the jail. When they're booked into the jail, if they're in crisis, they're put in a mental health crisis unit. And essentially what happens is we would have 170 different lawyers dealing with individual clients and just dealing on that individual client's case whenever they got to that case. What I switched around with the behavioral health division is I added additional paralegals to the unit and intake interviewers. And those attorneys actually interview those clients usually within 72 hours of them getting booked into the jail. And what they do a legal mental health assessment to try to figure out, have they ever been hospitalized before? Where were they living? What challenges were they having? Because they're in a mental health unit, we can also get the medical and mental health information of what it is that they've been diagnosed with. That helps us work with the clients to try to find what placement can we put them in, sometimes actually so that they don't have to be housed in the jail. They can actually be housed safely in the community, getting the services, the mental health services, and treatment that they need. So now we have front-loaded and are doing within 72 hours usually the assessment to try to figure out what program they should be at, but even more importantly, should they be in the mental health court? Because the mental health court is a separate process from the regular criminal court. Should they be in drug court? Should they be in veterans court? Because we have a lot of veterans who have mental health and substance use issues. So because we have changed the way we do intake, that we don't just keep it one attorney that gets assigned the case, we have the unit that takes a look at it and makes a recommendation to the attorney that is ultimately going to have the case, make recommendations. You can send this client to drug court, and the client wants to go to drug court, wants veterans court, wants mental health court, or try to identify what programs in the community can we release the client to.
I'll say, as a veteran, we really appreciate what you and our state attorney have done in this veterans area to recognize some of the specific issues that our veteran community deals with in terms of post-traumatic stress, other issues. Over at the Homeless Trust, you know, we've had a mission to really try to make sure we don't have any homeless veterans out there. And we certainly appreciate you and the state attorney recognizing some of the special factors that go into that and special help that they need, and we really appreciate that. You mentioned the pandemic, and I think you want to say there's nothing good about a pandemic, but one thing that I found is that because of technology, it opened the courts and our process to people who would not participate. Everybody has a smartphone. Therefore, they are able to participate. And you and Ms. Guerra and I and Mr. Carrilla at Prevail have talked about these issues and being able to expand. And your office is actually using this Prevail technology that uses some AI technology and other things to be able to expedite what's happening in your office. But something I'm so supportive of that it gives, as we speak, our police officers to be able to do depositions in their own communities and get back to work faster. And people that I think that would not normally participate when they receive a subpoena, that they were afraid to have contact with law enforcement, afraid to have contact with your office, that they're participating. So talk about the benefits of technology going forward and how you and your team are using this to better serve Miami-Dade.
Yeah, so here's the great news. We started using technology in 2010. So in the jail, one of the first things that I did as the recently elected public defender, because our attorneys traffic here is so bad and the jails are far out west, the attorneys were having to spend a lot of time traveling to the jail, dead time. They can't be doing work while you're driving.
And it's costing money.
It's costing a lot of money, and it's causing them not to have enough time to work on all the cases that they have. And so it creates backlog as well. So in 2010, I went to Miami-Dade County, and Miami-Dade County agreed to purchase the equipment that I wanted to purchase and actually install the equipment at every single jail. So at every single jail, I can interview the clients from my office, or even from my home, I can interview a client. So what happened with COVID was we were getting a lot of blowback. The jails were not allowing us to actually use it on our laptops. We had to use it in our physical building. When COVID hit and they knew that we could talk to the clients, they switched. Within 2 months, we were able to actually interview clients from home rather than have to drive to our office to be able to connect to the jail. So that was one of the things. The remote depositions, I started the remote depositions in 2010 as well, because we had so many officers coming to our office. We had, on any given year, 20 to 25,000 individuals coming to our main building. That is a lot of traffic of people coming in, and that's a lot of people out in the community. So we did a pilot project way back in 2010 and 2011 where we were doing remote depositions only on lower level cases. Fast forward, and when COVID hit, I was able to send my attorneys and my staff to work from home immediately because we had digitized all our records in 2015. So we had the digital records, we had the digital connection to the client. We actually, our call center, we were able to transfer calls to the attorney phones. So we were able to seamlessly, within a month or two, all of a sudden be running our law firm that we had to at the time because everybody was afraid of getting COVID. We were able to transition. When COVID hit, the other big problem that everybody's having is we don't have enough employees. We don't have enough people applying to come work for us, and we don't have enough people taking the jobs. So one of the things that we had to switch to, which Prevail came along at the perfect time, is we had to figure out how do we do more with fewer employees. So we kept shifting and shifting and shifting, trying to figure out how do we specialize the employees so that they're not jumping from task to task to task and not getting much done. So there were certain tools. When Cindy Guerra started with my office, she was able to get some machine learning. So some records that come into our office now, they used to be handled by 10 clerks. Now the clerks don't touch those records. Those are done automatically when they come in. The equipment recognizes it. They have the algorithm. They figure out where it is. They figure out where it goes in our database. So we have been able to make do with the fewer employees that are not coming to us. So that was one tool. The other tool was Prevail, like you mentioned, for the deposition practice. And that's been a godsend because we have better appearance by the witnesses. We can get the witnesses in and out so witnesses don't have any delays. Because what used to happen was we had a few people logging in the witness, seeing to make sure that the witness is there, and then reaching out to the other parties to get everybody online. With Prevail, we've been able to do much better than that, much quicker than that, and our failure to take the deposition rate has gone down as a result of the work that you've done with us.
The technology that you're using across the board, I'll just say that you're at the forefront of doing this. You talked about even going back a decade, recognizing that technology can make a big difference, and I think bring and include so many people who didn't participate or were afraid to participate in the system and feel more comfortable. You're doing other things statewide. Tell me about the other projects and your three, I'm going to say, main missions, not just with our county, but across the state that you're working to get accomplished.
So one of the projects that is local that I've been trying to push out to other public defenders' offices, and actually bigger than that, is we have a project with Agape Village. And Agape Village, it's a treatment center. It's for substance use, and they have mental health services as well. Is for women. And what we have been able to do with them, again, because of the staffing shortages and not being able to get people, one day a light bulb went off and I'm like, wait a minute. We have former clients that are in treatment centers. We have former clients who are on probation, who should be working so that way they can pay their fees and costs and sustain their families. And I know the folks at Agape have worked with Agape for a very long time, called them up and said, here's my crazy idea. What if I was able to hire some of the folks going through your treatment program? Of course, they have to be advanced enough in the treatment program, progressed enough, that it is a good thing for them to actually start getting employed. They agreed to it. They purchased equipment. So we opened a satellite call center down in South Dade, close to their treatment center. Now, when I said I want to get that statewide, before I contacted Agape, I went to the Florida Department of Corrections, and I said the following. I have jobs. I have jobs that can be done remotely. I have jobs that can be done by inmates at the state prison, but I want to pay them a living wage. I don't want to pay the wages that are now paid to inmates in the state system. They pay them pennies on the hour. I didn't want to do that. What I wanted to do, and what I still want to do, it's going to take me some time because there's some laws we need to change, is because we have such a shortage of individuals. That's one big deal in terms of people working, okay? That's one big issue. The other big issue is we have people leaving prison that can work, who can work, but they don't have any skills. They haven't learned any skills while in prison, and we let them out with $100. What are you going to do with $100?
How could they possibly succeed and not come back? One of the reasons we see the recidivism rate
at
the level it is.
Of course. So what I went to the Department of Corrections to the secretary, and I said, here's what I'm thinking of doing. What can you guys do to make this happen? So what I was thinking of doing is our starting salary at the time, I think, was $33,800 for call center. And what I said to them is, imagine if I'm paying that salary for an individual who is in your prison, let's say 6 months or a year before they are released. We will give them the training. We will get Labor Department, U.S. Labor Department money for reentry to be able to do that, for them to get trained. And imagine if that money just went into a trust account that they cannot touch until they get out. And then when they get out, all of a sudden they have $15,000, $20,000 to be able to go out, pay the down payment on rent, because rent, even a cheap apartment,
right?
Cheap now is $2,000. You got to do first, last on deposit. These individuals don't have any credit, but imagine if they could take $6,000 from the little pot of money that they had and actually get an apartment.
And they'd get off to a good start.
Absolutely.
1,000%. And Alex, I recognize the time, but this is very important. Last thing for you, tell our community why you are doing this after such a long time period. As a person with your background, you could go and work as a criminal defense attorney and charge people $650 an hour. However, you're serving us. So what drives you?
What drives me actually is my upbringing. I was brought up, both of my parents worked at the Catholic Church in St. John Bosco. And so my background is one of a deeply religious, deeply spiritual background. And when I started doing this work, I did not even envision the types of things that I could do with this position, because I never wanted to be an elected official. But when the opportunity came that I ran for the office, and I see the things that I can do, and what excites me to this day is that I can change things because people actually listen. And when people know that you're coming at it to try to get some change done that is not for personal benefit, there are a lot of good people in Miami-Dade County. There are a lot of good people in this state that want to see things improved, that want to see individuals succeed. So that's what drives me. That's what keeps me happy, and that's what keeps me going again for another term.
Carlos, great to see you. Our public defender in Miami-Dade County, Mr. Carlos Martinez. We're all very fortunate. We hope we don't need your services one day. Don't take it the wrong way.
I don't take it ever the wrong way.
Fortunate to have you with us. And thank you as always for being with us on In the Know. And now you know who our public defender is here in Miami-Dade County, and much more about what makes him and their office tick.